Alrighty, well, it's been a while since I've done a Parasaur recording, but this is something that I was inspired to finish when I watched the Jurassic World trailer. So, yeah, so here it is. Right now, I am just sculpting in the jaw, and I have my references on my other monitor, so you can't see it on this screen, but I'm just trying to follow it as best as possible, and I actually end up changing the positioning of the jaw. I didn't really notice it till a little later that it just didn't look very accurate. And some things that I've noticed when I came back to this model is there's definitely some things that I could have modeled in rather than sculpting. Not sure if that's going to give me issues when it comes to baking, but I just kind of wanted to finish this project up and not spend too much time on it. But if you want to finish properly, then by all means. So I'm using the clay strips brush right now, and I'm just going to kind of position the neck, kind of like the skin texture where I feel like the skin would be thinner on the Parasaur, and maybe some stretching. And then again, I'm just going in with the draw brush and just kind of shaping out the jaw. And while looking at my references, I'm trying to figure out where the skull and the bones kind of shape the Parasaur face. So. And then I was thinking, while I was working on this model, that I probably could have modeled in the ear. Here I sculpted it in, and then I was thinking maybe it might have been best to have the mouth kind of beak area its own separate object, but I just decided to keep it in for this. So again, here I'm just kind of shaping in where the bones of the skull kind of pop out. So I'm using the inflate tool, but I'm holding control and it's deflating it, and that kind of helps give that region that I was working on a more concave look. I find that works better than using the draw tool. So now I'm shaping in that kind of bill slash beak region. Again, I think I probably could have made some different objects in this, but it is what it is. So when I came back to this model, I realized that maybe I could have spent more time around the eye region. I don't know if I'm necessarily sold on the idea of the eyeball and the outside eye region of like the face sticking out so far. I don't know, it just looks kind of strange to me, but so I think if I remember correctly, I went a little bit too crazy with the face here, and so everything's very like in your face, so I eventually go back and smooth everything back out again. See how the bones are kind of like sticking out all crazy like? Oh, and if anyone has any suggestions as far as where I can pick up some alpha textures for, you know, alligators, lizards, dinosaurs, kind of a thing, please let me know, because I've been using the same like ZBrush textures, so all my dinosaurs look kind of the same when it comes to the alpha textures, so please let me know. So I think at this point with the sculpting, I'm just starting to refine the shape that the shapes that I'm working with the skull. So now I'm starting to go in with the crease brush and start adding in the creases. And I think it might have been around here when I realized that the jaw looked very like unproportional to the back bill, because in my references the jaw kind of lines up with the very end of the bill region, that little head crest. So that's when I was like, I made a mistake. Yeah, so it was right here when I realized that I did not have the jaw lined up where it probably should have been. So now I'm just adding in like the, I guess, like muscles slash arteries that run through the neck. And I'm just reshaping the jaw. Though I don't know, I'm kind of looking at the jaw now and I'm like, why did I change it? I don't know. And then another thing I realized when I was sculpting is I definitely could have given the leg mesh, or the leg closest to the body, that part of the mesh, more space, because it's really difficult to sculpt and UV unwrap with. I believe the mesh is kind of intersecting on the inside a little bit, so I kind of stuffed that up, but you live and learn. A lot of learning. So now I'm just kind of outlining like the vertebrae. I'm just kind of like winging it. I'm not really going by any reference here. So here I'm sculpting in that nasal passage. It's pretty like prominent on the Parasaur, and it's important. And I was thinking that I was going to model in the teeth, but I figured I'd probably never animate it to where you could see inside the mouth, so I didn't really worry about it too much. And here it made sculpting a little bit difficult because I have the mesh, the mouth so closed. In my future models, I think, and even the models that I'm working on now, I try to remember to keep the jaw at least as far open as possible, because I didn't have the patience to go through and select and make vertex groups and like do that whole thing. So I didn't really worry too much about adding a crazy amount of detail in mouth. So here I'm just trying to imagine what the throat esophagus kind of thing would be like. You know, right by your collarbone, you have that kind of like hole, concave thing, if that makes sense. These are the alpha textures I've been using forever, and like I said, I need to get some new ones. There's a plugin that I use. I'll put it in the description, but I always seem to have problems trying to remember how to use it. And then I noticed when I undo all of that, it basically undoes the texture library that I set up, so I have to add it in again. And I do have a tablet that I'm using. Looking back, I think I went a little too hardcore with those lines on the back. I feel like I could have turned the strength down a lot because it really changes the silhouette of the Parasaur, and I don't know if I really want it to be that bumpy looking in the back, if that makes sense. And here I'm adding in like the finer lines of detail. Here I'm using the draw brush to kind of like add in those skin folds, I guess you could call them. I believe the references that I was going off of, the Parasaur didn't have very prominent scales, so I just wanted to subtly add them in. think about here when I'm adding in this alpha brush, I definitely could have toned down the strength. Because it looks good now, but then when I looked at the Parasaur a little later, it's just the details were too much on the back. I just didn't really like it. Like, it's kind of jaggedy, and that could just be the mesh and the polys, or I guess the faces, vertices, edges, I don't know. Here I'm just trying to add in more of that skin, excess skin kind of flap. Looking at it now, I feel like the shoulder region has a lot of stuff going on, a lot of detail going on, and it kind of feels like it's overcrowding. If I were to go back and redo it, I probably wouldn't have gone so hardcore with the alpha brushes in that region. Sometimes I feel like when you're working on models and sculpting and you just feel like everything needs detail when, you know, the saying less is more, so. You might hear my cat crying. She's totally fine. She wants to get fed again, so just ignore her. Mocha, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yeah, so it's like right here. I just feel like I keep adding more and more detail, which is fine, but I also feel as if the model, like the mesh of the sculpt, is just super bumpy at this point. If I were to look at it from like a quarter profile view, 3/4, and then just see, I don't know. Yeah, something also I've noticed, I'm not very good at like just talking to myself. I feel as if I just blab and I can't finish sentences, so you'll have to excuse me. I'm a cat person, so I don't usually talk. I don't know if I keep that kind of rippled texture in. It looks, yeah, I'm erasing it now because it just looked like a fish. Like too many ripples. I don't know. Here I'm adding in some more of that skin, excess skin, I guess. Mocha, come here. Come here. What? Every time I start recording, my cats always find a way to make themselves known. I don't know why. I think cats are alive to make their owners as miserable as possible. I'm just kidding. So sculpting on my Mac with the multi-resolution of 6, but I think I have the viewport at 4, it does not like its life right now. It's not a happy camper. I remember when I bought my Mac, I thought, because my school provided Macs, and at the time we were using, the Adobe programs, and I was like, oh, Macs must be able to handle these editing softwares really well. And I don't know anything about computers. I know more now, but when I bought it, I was like, okay, I should be able to run After Effects, no problem. At the time, I didn't know about Blender, and I wasn't really interested in any 3D software, so yeah, no, Macs do not handle this well at all, and I think it's because I don't even know if I have a video card or a graphics card. I probably do, but it's not ideal. And then to upgrade it, because I bought it straight off the Apple website, to upgrade, I think a graphics card or something, it was like $500. Anyway, I'm blabbing. So I believe that's it, and I'll see you in the next video.